Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. Usually when you think of the internet's infrastructure, the pipes and the plumbing, you think of boring, steady utilities. And let's be totally honest here. When I say the name GoDaddy, you probably have a very specific, slightly dated image in your head.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, like maybe it's a Super Bowl commercial from 15 years ago with a race car driver, or maybe it's just that place where you impulsively bought a domain name for that sourdough starter business you were definitely going to launch back in 2020.
Yeah, it's basically the place where good ideas go to sit in a digital parking lot for 5 years until your credit card finally expires.
Right.
That's the reputation.
That is exactly the reputation. But we have a stack of documents here today that paints a completely different picture. It's Thursday, February 26th, 2026, and GoDaddy released their Q4 and full year 2025 earnings report just 2 days ago. And I have to say, if you haven't been paying attention to this company for the last few years, you are missing one of the weirdest and most fascinating pivots in the entire tech sector.
You really are. It's wild.
They aren't just selling web addresses anymore. They are aggressively positioning themselves as and this is their term, the agentic operating system for the AI era.
Which, I mean, it does sound like absolute buzzword soup, right? Agentic operating system.
Totally.
But when you actually dig into these transcripts and the earnings data, which I've been doing for the last, 48 hours, it's surprisingly grounded. They are essentially trying to answer a massive question. What happens to the internet when humans stop building websites and AI agents start running businesses for them?
And that right there is the mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We are going to unpack how a legacy company, the domain people, is trying to become the backbone of what they call the agentic open internet. And frankly, I want to figure out if this is just a marketing spin to pump the stock or if the technology and the money actually back it up. Because, spoiler alert, the money part is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I think that is the best place to start. Before we get into the robot employees and the whole agentic future, we really have to look at the financial foundation here. Because usually when a company pivots to AI, it means they are burning cash like crazy to chase a trend.
Right. You look at the OpenAI competitors or even the big cloud providers, and the capital expenditure is just eye-watering. So looking at GoDaddy's Q4 2025 numbers, revenue hit $1.27 billion, which is up about 7%.
Yes.
That's solid, steady growth. But the number that really made me do a double take when I was reading through this was the free cash flow.
Yeah, that is the headline number for any investor who cares about durability. For the full year 2025, they generated $1.6 billion in free cash flow. That is up 19% year over year.
Let's just pause on that number for a second.
Yeah.
$1.6 billion. That is not startup money. That's we can do whatever we want money.
Exactly. It allows them to be completely self-sufficient. They aren't going to the capital markets begging for venture loans to build their AI models. They are funding it entirely from their own pocket. And they are confident enough in their position that they actually bought back $1.6 billion of their own shares in 2025 alone.
Wait, they matched their cash flow with buybacks?
Almost dollar for dollar.
Wow.
If you look back to 2021, they have reduced their total share count by 33%. That is a massive return of capital to shareholders. But the key insight here isn't just that they have money, it's that they aren't incinerating it. You look at a lot of AI startups right now, and they are setting cash on fire to train large language models.
Oh, absolutely.
But GoDaddy is different. Their normalized EBITDA margin, which is basically their profitability metric, expanded to 34% in Q4.
So let me make sure I'm getting this straight. They are pivoting to this high-tech AI-driven future, building autonomous agents, and their profitability is actually going up.
That's the paradox here. They are using this highly profitable, durable business, which is domains and hosting, to self-fund a massive technological shift. They aren't betting the farm. They're upgrading the farm while selling record numbers of crops. It's a luxury that very few tech companies have right now.
Okay, so the bank account is clearly healthy. They have the war chest. Now let's talk about the sci-fi stuff, because this is where it gets really interesting for you if you're a business owner. The CEO, Aman Bhutani, spent a lot of time on the earnings call distinguishing between tools and agents. And I feel like agent is the buzzword of 2026, and everyone defines it a little differently. How is GoDaddy actually defining it?
It's a crucial distinction. The old world, the world GoDaddy was built on, was all about tools. They gave you a website builder, but you had to build the website. They gave you email marketing software, but you had to sit down, write the email, figure out the subject line, and hit send. That requires expertise and, maybe more importantly, time.
Which is usually what the small business owner completely lacks. I mean, if I'm running a bakery, I don't want to learn how to drag and drop widgets on a Saturday night. I just want to bake bread.
Precisely. The shift to agentic AI means moving to a system where the software provides the expertise and does the work automatically. It's the difference between buying a hammer and hiring a carpenter.
I love that analogy. And this isn't just theory for them. They have this platform called Era.ai.
Arrow, yes.
Mm.
It started as just generative AI, write me a headline or whatever. But now it's moved to true agentic AI. They reveal they have 25 agents live in beta right now.
I saw a specific example in the transcript regarding privacy policies that I thought was pretty wild. But I have to ask, is this just a fancy way of saying a chatbot wrote a document?
No, it's way more than just writing. This is actually my favorite part of the earnings call because it perfectly illustrates the difference between generative and agentic. So users on the Arrow platform were chatting with the AI, and they started asking for privacy policies and end-user license agreements.
Okay.
Now, traditionally, GoDaddy didn't really have an easy product for that. You have to go find a lawyer or a template somewhere else.
Right, GoDaddy sells domains and hosting, not legal documents. That's a totally different vertical.
But the AI agent identified the need. It realized, hey, people are asking for this specific thing. It created the solution, meaning it actually generated the privacy policies tailored to the business, and then it's sold it to the customer seamlessly within the chat interface.
Wait, so the AI essentially realized there was a gap in the product line, filled it, and monetized it, without a human product manager sitting there writing a spec sheet.
In a way, yes. It identified a job to be done and executed it. Management pointed out that if they had tried to build that the old way, building a dedicated landing page, putting it in the checkout flow, marketing it via email campaigns, it would have taken months and added a ton of friction. The agent just did it in the moment of intent.
That is the actual definition of a business operating system. It's not just a website builder anymore if it's dynamically creating products on the fly.
No, it's not. And speaking of website builders, they launched a new one just this week. We're talking late February 2026 here. It fuses a chat-based AI interface with a high-end design editor.
See, I've used those AI builders before, and usually you get what you get. You type in, make me a pizza shop site, and it spits out something generic. And if you want to move a picture 3 inches to the left, the whole thing breaks.
That's been the exact problem with early generative builders. But GoDaddy claims to have solved that triangulation. You can talk to the AI to build the site. Like you can say, make the logo bigger or change the tone to be more friendly. But if you want to tweak the exact pixels, you can jump into the editor and do that manually too. It's a true hybrid model.
It's really interesting how they are blurring the line between do it yourself and do it for me. But I want to pivot to something even more abstract, which might actually be the most important part of this whole update. And I'll be honest, when I first read about this, I struggled to wrap my head around why it matters.
I think I know exactly where you're going. The agent name service.
Yes, ANS.
Yeah.
This is the infrastructure play. We all know what DNS is, the domain name system. It turns google.com into an IP address so computers can find each other. But why does an AI agent need a domain name? Why do we need an agent name service?
Okay, think about the problem we are facing right now in 2026. The internet is absolutely flooded with AI bots. If you are a business and you have an AI agent that is supposed to book appointments, handle customer service, or even buy supplies for you, how do I, as a consumer or another business, know that agent is actually yours?
Right.
How do I know it's not a scam bot pretending to be your bakery to steal my credit card info?
I see. Because trust is basically zero right now. If I get a message from a bot, I just assume it's spam.
Exactly. Trust is the bottleneck.
Yeah.
So GoDaddy's big idea is to anchor the identity of an AI agent to the domain name system. If you own yourbakery.com, you can verify your agent cryptographically through that domain.
So the domain becomes like a passport for the robot.
That's the perfect analogy. It's a passport. It provides two things, verification and discoverability. Because it's on the DNS, that agent can be found globally in seconds using the infrastructure that already runs the entire internet. You don't need to build a new proprietary network or download a specific app to talk to it. You just use the plumbing we already have.
Okay, walk me through a scenario then. Let's say I want to buy a pair of sneakers. In this agentic future, do I just tell my phone, get me those Nikes, and my personal agent goes and talks to the Nike agent?
Theoretically, yes. Your personal agent sends a query out. But it needs to find the legitimate Nike sales agent, right? It uses the agent name service to look up sales.nike Nike.com, or whatever the identifier is. It verifies the cryptographic signature that proves this agent is authorized by Nike, and then it executes the transaction.
Wow.
No website visit required, just agent-to-agent negotiation.
That sounds great for the big players, obviously. But GoDaddy's bread and butter is the little guy, the plumber, the florist. Does this actually help them at all?
That's where their new partnership comes in. And I think this was glossed over on some of the general news coverage, but it's huge. They announced an integration with MuleSoft.
That's a Salesforce company, right?
Right. And to understand why this matters, you have to understand what MuleSoft actually does. It's the plumbing for the Fortune 500. It connects a massive company's inventory system to their billing system, to their HR system. It's deep, enterprise-grade connectivity.
So why does GoDaddy, the champion of the little guy, need to talk to Salesforce's MuleSoft?
Because commerce doesn't happen in a vacuum. By plugging GoDaddy's agent name service into MuleSoft's agent fabric, they're effectively saying your local florist's AI agent can now technically talk directly to the inventory system of a massive global wholesaler.
Oh, that is interesting. So it bridges the gap between the chaotic open web for small businesses and the rigid enterprise world.
Exactly. If I'm a small business agent and I need to reorder stock, I can interact with the supplier's enterprise agent seamlessly. It validates the technology. It says this isn't just a toy for making small websites, it's a standard for how business gets done globally.
That connects to something else they talked about on the call, which is how they are using AI internally. Because it's one thing to sell the shovels, but are they digging with them? And this part of the report, I have to admit, I was a little skeptical when I read it.
You're talking about the coding claim.
Yeah. Management stated that the majority of their new code is now AI generated, not assisted, generated.
It is a staggering claim. They actually moved past their old internal target. They used to aim for 70% of code being AI generated. But they basically said that metric is becoming irrelevant because entire new code bases are almost 100% AI generated.
Hold on, I really want to double click on that. The majority of the code, usually companies say copilots assist our devs or we use it for unit tests.
Yeah.
You're saying the AI is writing the bulk of the actual code base. Is that safe? Doesn't that create a massive maintenance nightmare down the road?
That is the big risk, right? The spaghetti code problem. If a machine writes it at lightning speed, can a human actually understand it later to fix a bug? But GoDaddy claims they are running experiments with agent-only developer teams.
Agent-only teams, so no humans.
In those specific experiments, it sounds like the agents are doing the heavy lifting, writing, testing, and deploying. Likely with human oversight at the architectural level, sure. But think about the economic implication here. It fundamentally changes the cost of software development.
It goes from a high-cost labor activity to basically a compute cost activity.
Right. If you can spin up a product like that privacy policy feature we talked about earlier, or a whole new website builder module, with a fraction of the human hours, your margins just explode. It moves toward zero marginal cost software creation.
And we see that in the customer care numbers too, right? Because GoDaddy has always had thousands of people sitting in call centers.
Yes. They launched new AI sales agents at the start of 2026. In just the first 6 weeks, these agents handled thousands of voice calls and texts. And the key quote from the CFO, Mark McCaffrey, was that they handled complex sales cases without human intervention, and they achieved healthy conversion rates.
That is the absolute holy grail for a company like this. Their biggest cost has always been support, helping people set up their email or figure out DNS records. If an AI can do that and actually sell you more stuff while doing it.
That's exactly why they can project margin expansion while investing so heavily in new tech. The AI is deflating their operating costs in real time. It's a double whammy. They sell AI products to you, and they use AI to support you.
But let's play devil's advocate here for a second, because it wasn't all just up and to the right in the report. There was a bit of a wobble in the bookings numbers related to their go-to-market strategy.
Right. This is the GTM gamble, as I call it. If you look at the bookings growth in Q1 2026, it's lagging revenue growth slightly. It looks a little soft if you just skim the surface.
So what caused that? Did people just stop buying domains?
No, actually the exact opposite. To get more customers in the door, GoDaddy ran a massive promo. They offered one-year .com terms at a heavy discount.
Ah, the classic loss leader strategy, get them in cheap.
Sure. And it worked. Demand was way greater than expected. They got a higher volume of new customers. But because they were selling shorter terms, 1 year instead of, say, 3 or 5 years, and at a lower price, the average order size, or AOS, dropped up front.
So on paper, it looks like they are making less money per customer right now.
Correct. And that caused a lag in bookings compared to previous quarters. But here's why I argue this is a really smart gamble. They are betting on high-intent customers. The data showed that even though these people paid less upfront for the domain, they were attaching second products, like email or security, at the exact same rate as full-price customers.
Ah, so they aren't just buying a $5 domain and disappearing into the ether. They're actually building businesses.
Exactly. And here's the killer stat from the call. The cohort of customers spending $500 or more annually grew 11%. And management said that group has near-perfect retention.
Near perfect. That's an investor's dream phrase right there. Basically, once you get big enough on GoDaddy, you never leave.
So the logic is really simple. Get them in the door with a cheap domain. Use the agentic AI, that Arrow platform, to automatically identify what they need, like that privacy policy, and upsell them seamlessly until they are a $500 a year customer who is locked in for life. They are happily trading upfront cash for lifetime value.
It's a very confident bet. It essentially says, our product is so sticky and so useful that once you're in, you're ours.
And with the friction reduction from AI, that bet becomes a lot safer. If the AI builds the website for you and manages your marketing, you are far less likely to churn than if you get frustrated trying to build it yourself on a weekend and just quit.
So let's zoom out here as we wrap up. We have a company generating massive cash, buying back shares, pivoting hard to agentic AI, and essentially rewriting their own internal code base with robots. If you are listening to this and you run a business or you invest in tech, what is the big takeaway here?
The main takeaway is that the era of the do-it-yourself internet is ending. For 20 years, the model was, here's a tool, good luck. The new model is, here is an agent, what do you need done? GoDaddy is positioning itself as the manager of those agents,
It's shifting from being a registrar to being a what, like a boss?
a business operating system. If they pull this off, and that's still an if, they become the vital layer between the business owner and the digital world. You don't talk to the internet anymore. You talk to GoDaddy's agent, and the agent talks to the internet for you.
That brings me to my final thought for everyone listening, and this is something I want you to really noodle on today. We spent the last 2 decades obsessed with the visual internet, what a website looks like, user interfaces, clicking buttons, scroll speeds.
Right. UX and UI design was king. We optimized every single pixel.
But if GoDaddy succeeds with this agent name service, and if I have my personal AI agent buying things for me, and your business AI agent selling things to me, and they're just exchanging data silently via the DNS.
We are moving toward the headless web.
Exactly. Are we moving toward a future where we don't even visit websites anymore? Does the visual internet matter as much as the agentic internet?
It's a profound shift to think about. It's the difference between owning the billboards on the highway and owning the highway itself. If GoDaddy owns the directory, the verified phone book of trusted agents, that might be the most valuable real estate of all. Because even if I never look at your beautifully designed website, my agent still needs to find your agent. And that lookup happens on their infrastructure.
It's a fascinating potential future for a company that started out selling $10 web addresses. We'll have to see how 2026 plays out for them, but for now, the cash flow says they have plenty of runway to figure it out. That's it for this deep dive into GoDaddy's Q4 2025 earnings. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you next time.